Loss of a child under any circumstance is devastating. While the recent Kakamega Primary and Precious Talent Primary School tragedies were grave reminders of the great pain the loss of young lives can cause. Well, tonight we talk about the reality of this new normal for parents who lose their children and how to adjust to the new realities. Take a look at this. We are here at the Mugs and Brews Cafe at Marsabit Plaza. Our guests for this discussion on child loss are Wanjiru Kihusa is the founder of Still a Mom. She began this organization after losing their daughter during pregnancy. Still a Mom has supported over 2,500 bereaved moms and dads. Diana Chepkoskei is the lead counselor at Still a Mom. She offers psychosocial support to countless parents looking for a path to healing after losing a child.
Like that's a goodbye sign.
Catherine Wanjiru lost her 5-year-old son Christopher to heart failure in October last year. She shares her journey so far that began with a 10-year wait for her first child and adjusting to her new normal with her son no longer in the picture. All right, let's get right into the discussion, and thank you once again to all you ladies for coming to sit and share your experiences. I know it's going to help a lot of people who are still trying to navigate through this season. Child loss is something that is never easy. And when you think about it, there's no term for a parent who's lost a child in the English language, you know. So when you're thinking about how we cater to people who've lost children, how do you begin that process? And you know, I know, Wanjiru, that's been a passion of yours for the last few years. It's something you've been through yourself. So what inspired Still a Mom for you, and what has been the response from various couples and parents who've been through that experience?
What inspired the starting of Still a Mom was, of course, my own personal experience, but beyond that was the realization that the conversation was not being heard. They had no particular place to go that was purely dedicated for child loss. Support groups were not something that happened in these countries at all. And so that's where I was coming from when I started Still a Mom. And it's been an interesting journey of 5 years. About 2,000, almost 500 people later, and that's still a drop in the ocean. It's not even a big number. We are still not able to get to majority of Kenyans. But even with those, a lot of different reactions. It's made me appreciate the different types of losses, the different ages, the different circumstances that are happening in people's families. The situations are so diverse, but that grief is that thing that unites us, and then the healing patterns of various people and the factors that determine how people heal. It's just been a very interesting thing to observe. But beyond it, I've just been amazed to be able to take a front row seat as God has fixed people, you know, because we just aid the process. We help you figure out what's going on in your life and the emotions and processing. But beyond that, it's been just amazing to see people come in and they're devastated and they're able to leave when they're doing a lot better. They resume work. So I think for me, it's been a really worthwhile venture. And I'm glad that you called the organization Still a Mom. Because, you know, when you're thinking about miscarriage and you're thinking about losing a life when it's just beginning, how do you even begin to heal and process that loss, you know, especially in a society where people feel it was a miscarriage. It wasn't like the child had come. What's the big deal?
But you're still a parent. You still went through the process of expecting a child. And it's still a loss, you know.
Especially the unexpectedness of the loss is actually such a big factor, because here's the thing, no one ever tells us that this is an option, that it could happen. So we walk in, you're dating, you're married, you guys are expecting a baby, and then who knows, like just like that, today you're pregnant, tomorrow you're not. And the other thing is usually that a lot of these things happen when you're newlyweds. Like you're just getting to know each other. It's been a year or two into the marriage, and like processing a death is not the best thing to be doing at this point. Even our premarital counseling talks about how you should prepare for the babies. You know, it talks about, oh, you guys don't forget each other when the baby comes. Make sure you're still loving each other and doing date night. Don't you let yourself go, or don't do X, Y, Z. But nobody quite tells you that, first of all, getting children may not happen, because getting even pregnant is a thing, you know. Then when they do come, I mean, the ideal situation is we outlive our kids, but that's not always the case. So there are other factors and circumstances that make miscarriages even more difficult. The duration of waiting. I have met people who were waiting, who had been trying for 8 years. It was probably an IVF baby, so the procedure and the magnitude of IVF, or even the scientific work that has been done on them, you know, like they've been to hospitals over and over again. So when you hear somebody has lost an 8-week pregnancy, don't be like, whatever, that's not even a big deal. We hadn't seen the baby quite yet. You guys are young, you can always try again. At least you guys know you can get pregnant, you know.
Goodness.
You know,
the things that are said, you know, by individuals.
Had a baby shower.
Exactly.
Sure.
I have met people who have now clothes they don't know what to do with, because diapers, cots, you know, it's a whole thing to even like try and keep them away and begin the process of healing. So child loss is a very complex thing, to be honest.
And speaking of how complex it is, let's talk about a different stage now. Catherine, you know, we go through moments in life that change it completely, and one for you was last October. Life will never be the same after that, you know. After losing your 5-year-old son, take us through the moments just before. What was happening? What kind of kid was he? You know, and the light memories that you have of him.
The memories of that kid.
What was his name?
His name is Christopher. Christopher.
Okay.
He was a wonderful boy. He loved Jesus. He would tell us to pray for one another, pray for the family. In fact, the whole family had a great loss. Because if anyone is sick or having difficulties, and they usually called me, Catherine, tell Christopher to pray for me, this and that. And with that belief, anything could happen. The answer of prayers. He was a wonderful boy, and he was very bright. And at the school, he was very bright. When he comes out of school, then he just put everything there and start doing his homework. He was a straight away boy, because if I remember him, sometimes I go down, but whatever he was doing, and according to God, the way he was moving with his God, I could just say, it's okay, let me try to heal, because if I don't heal, get that inner healing, I'll stress myself. Please, maybe he's somewhere happy in heaven, because we all believe in heaven. And I'm the one who is struggling here. He's happy. So an inner voice could tell me, just relax, continue with your life. Chris is very happy wherever he is. And if you continue damaging your heart, you have other kids to look after. So you may get sick or go the way it is not supposed to be. Because if it comes to the reality, the death have to come. We have to die, all of us.
That's true.
And we can't live like stones.
That's true.
So there will come a time when one have to go. But God knows each and every time you'll go like this, you'll get sick, or just sleep and go, you know. So Christopher's time was that, and that was that. And by the way he came to be sick, it was amazing, because he just told me that, Mom, my heart is pumping very hard and very fast. So I could just listen to the heart, and it was I tried for mine, the brother, the auntie, and all were calm. But for Christopher, it was too. So I asked him, would you go to school? Yes, I will go. So just went to school, but I told the teacher, and take care of Christopher, because the heart is pumping very fast. I don't understand. And she told me, you have to go to the hospital for checkups. When he was out of school, then we tried to go to checkups, but at the time of checkups was the following day. He had started saying, I'm feeling stomachache, such things.
Yeah.
And during the night, that very night, he was like unable to breathe well. So we just went to the hospital. But I had a feeling, because I had a 9-year-old child, I had a feeling, what if we go and be admitted in the hospital? What about this one? Is still breastfeeding. But an inner healing was telling me, everything is for God. Don't worry, just go wherever you're going, because you have to take care of everyone here. You are the mother, you have to be a strong mother. So we just went. Unfortunately, we were admitted, and then thinking we are at least for 1 day or 2 days, it was not like that. We stayed for a week, and that week we are having checkups, and every checkup was like, and heart fairing, and kidney fairing, liver fairing. I was like such 5-year boy having all this, and then my heart was just telling me he'll be well. So that was my comfort. And it was on a Sunday, and I went to a chapel there, this Catholic chapel. I entered there peacefully and just knelt before the altar and told Jesus, what about all these things? I've never been in the hospital with either a person or a mother or what, and this is my own baby sleeping there helpless. Could see mommy is not doing anything to make me come out of this place, you know. It was even sand. So an inner healing told me, God is with you wherever you go. So take care of the boy, because when you go down, the sick person, you'll make the sick person be
even more sad.
Yes. So I went back to the ward, and we talked with Christopher, and we just said a prayer, and it's all what I could offer for that time. Until the time, now came the time that it was the day for him to go. In the morning, he was hearing, but believing he'll be okay. At 3 o'clock, that's when he confessed. After being visited by a few church members whom he loved very much, a Jumuiya, or a small community where we attended in St. Peter Kikuyu Catholic Church. So what happened? They came, we prayed. Then when they went, Christopher just started, he could not talk more. He was like tired. So I took him to the acute for the babies. And then after sometimes he confessed, and that was that. But the great thing that we did, he loved praying, especially the Divine Mercy Prayer. It is always being played all over the world at 3 o'clock in all Catholic churches. So we said with the Daddy the Divine Mercy Prayer. And exactly on that time, as we were reciting the Divine Mercy Prayer, he just opened the eyes like this and then closed the eyes. And it was like that's a goodbye sign. And it was over and over. He went like that. I just looked at the body, can't breathe. And then I cried. I remember I cried and cried and cried, but it was all from that time. I've never cried the way I cried that time. Yes. It was like, it's over now. I've cried out and accepted the work of God. Yes. It was like that.
I mean, Catherine, you've exhibited an unbelievable strength. I cannot even begin to imagine. And I know you're still in the process of recovering, of grieving as well, and the healing is still take time.
Yes.
But let me come to you, Diana, because you know, you've heard her story, and I know you've heard countless like that. For a parent watching who's saying, I'm there, this has just happened, and yes, I probably cried, or I was angry, or there were different emotions going on inside of me. What do I do after that? You know, they may not be at a point where they feel, let's continue on with life. They feel, no, let me stop. Things need to stop, you know, and people need to understand what I'm going through. How do you walk them through that process?
It's a very difficult and devastating place, and there's a lot of mix of emotions, being confused, overwhelmed. But what I usually encourage parents to do, because they are really confused, what can I do? Physically, just allow yourself to feel through the grief, through mourning, through crying. Just have your space and cry as much as you can. And just being able to allow yourself to have a support system at that time. People who are able just to give you an environment to vent, an environment to talk, because the more you talk about it, the more you get to process. And the earlier you process, the better for you, because you might develop other complicated grief disorders, or even depression, complicated grief disorder, prolonged grief disorder. And remember, there are different ways people get to grief. And, you know, for Catherine, she cried at that time. For some people, they tend to, you know, block all the emotions, and that's called the masked grief, which can get to show off later on in life. So the earlier you get to process, the better. And you don't have to push yourself. Whenever you're ready, talk about it, cry about it, write about it.
And you know, I have to ask this because some have asked, is there a point where I'll just stop grieving? I'll just stop feeling sad about it? Or is it a continuous process and evolves with time? Because when you think about it, the grief you have for that person is connected to the love. And the memories you have of that person, right? So does it ever really go away?
Grief never goes away. It has no expiry date or a specific time frame. But as you go through the years, you get to have better days and less of crying days. The only thing that comes with grief, you learn to cope with the memories, and you slowly get to adjust to the new life, because this is a new season you're in, and you're now your body's now getting adjusted to this new reality that baby is no more, and I have to live with that. So there are bad days, there are triggers sometimes that just takes to you back all the way. So you just get to learn with all these emotions, how best are you going to cope.
And Wanjiru, you know, just sitting around a table of women, right? And so a lot of times the assumption is when the child loss happens, let's go to the mother, let's support. And oftentimes the father, the men are left out. And they grieve in a completely different way. You've actually gone through some studies on how they grieve differently and how complex it is. But why it's important to know why they grieve the way that they do.
That's true.
I mean, if you can just share a bit on that.
It's first of all, I was really disappointed that we were not able to get a guy around this table, and it's not for lack of trying. But that being said, how men grieve and how women grieve is totally different. Even how women grieve, just the way I grieve and how Catherine grieves, so many factors: how we were brought up, how we handled death in our family, how our folks taught us how to process emotion, what is the most recent death I have been through. Like, you know, like the people who had a couple of hardships in their life and it has made them a bit more steady. This could be the very first thing that I have processed in a very long time. So when we think about men, first of all, just imagine gender. Just the gender itself difference is a very major factor. And I can't speak for men because I'm not one, but in the process of running Still a Mom, I have really encountered a lot of dads, and then also, of course, like studies that have been done regarding how men grieve. And here's one of the things, and this probably we could say to women who are grieving, who automatically assume that because he's not grieving the way I am grieving, then he's not grieving at all.
We invalidate how he's grieving.
Exactly. And then it's the biggest complaint we hear from the wives. They're like, oh, my husband just went back to work. Is it that he didn't love this baby? How can you be so unaffected? And we have to tell them, by they imagine he's grieving, he's just not grieving your style. So there's a study that actually was done in Italy, and there's a whole graph about how women grieve and how men grieve. And so when women grieve, their grief is highest at the point of loss. When the loss happens, at that point the woman is at her peak of grief, and it slowly comes down, and then it will, what she was calling cope, we learn to cope. So it kind of like plateaus. It doesn't end, we just learn to live with it. But with the men, their grief is not immediate after the baby dies. And I was mentioning to you earlier that sometimes it's also because of factors such as the fact that they are being the practical helpers at the time. They are trying to discharge you from hospital. They're looking for money. Oh, if there are burial processes, he's engaging in them. So he's busy doing. And then, so what happens is they will start off with grief, but it is is not as high as their partners. But what will happen is that, unlike for the woman, which is slowly dissipating, theirs will increase. Yeah, they now finally, things start to settle later on, and that's why they will run to work, because it's the one thing they know how to do. You know, there, when you put this here, you get X, Y in results, and that is something that can be controlled. Yet grief is bringing all these emotions that he cannot put together, and so at the very same time, he's looking after his wife, he's parenting, he's, you know, all these things, and society is also not giving him permission to grieve. All these people are visiting us and they're like, oh, so how are you? And then they turn to my husband and they ask him, are you looking after her? And you're like, funny, he doesn't
and
grieve.
What about me?
It was his child too. So all those factors, and then the study was showing that around 6 to a year, again, so many factors in place, their grief peaks. And actually, quite a number of dads who were interviewed remarked that around this time their wife is ready for another baby, and they're thinking like, what do you mean? Like, what is this conversation? What do you mean we need another baby? At that point, he is at his peak, and so those differences is to allow them to grieve in their style and not assume that they are grieving. Women, on the other hand, we do the talking. That's why even our support groups are more women, because and then we want to talk about it, we want to cry, and so the idea is that in your house, create an environment for both people to grieve. So if your wife wants to talk, she's having one of those days where she really needs you to hear her out and cry and have an emotional episode, by all means support her. But as the wife as well, the moment he shows you that he'd like to talk about it, use that opportunity and create an environment where he's safe to say all the things he wants. And by all means, please don't assume that he didn't love the baby and he's not grieving. He is. Wow. I promise you, he is.
Such insights, my goodness. And Catherine, for you, you've had to come to terms with a new normal. Right? A life that is without Christopher. In the few months that have passed, how are you starting to create that? And even for your child as well.
It's now like 3 months since he went away. And what I did first of all, I just looked at whatever he used to use, the coat bed, the clothes, and imagining when January comes, he's no more going to school, allowing every kind, like especially the clothing, whatever he used to wear. You know, sometimes I could look at them and feel that grief. But there was one inner voice was telling me, I think that one, I took it since the first day. Mom, I'm happy here. Don't grieve unto me. Because I'll lose the strength to look after the others. So what I did, I just took everything and unpacked somewhere that I want to be seeing everything there. Every day. But the brother told me to hang the portrait picture in the bedroom so that he could see the brother always. So I did that. They used to play together. By the way, it's just in 2 years. The difference is just 2 years. And so I did what he said because I could imagine how he was missing him, the brother. And we used to talk with the two of them. And one thing he could understand is that the brother is in heaven with Jesus. The comfort that the brother is with Jesus was glitter in the brother's heart. So I could see the courage with the brother and took the courage into my heart. Because he's a kid and he could have that strength and see the brother is okay where he is. So I started healing from even this brother. If this one can understand and allow the way it is, all about me, and I know everything, even I'm the one who is teaching them. So I started slowly by slowly with God, praying together. And but I could see the other sister, the 9 years, now is 11, 1 year. Something is missing in this house. Because Chris always used to call the sister. Whenever she's alone, she's there for her, bringing all the kind of toys, you could see the pile of the toys. And she's crying, doing what? Then I could just see the sister is missing something in the house. But just look at her and say that, don't worry. He has to come. I'll tell you about the brother. And then moving away that thing in the heart, it will never. It will never. Absolutely. That I know. And all I do is just play, just give my heart strength, because it's like fighting with a wall. You want to break this wall with your own hearts, and it cannot be broken. So, utaumia.
True. That's true.
Yes. And when the hearts are hard, you can't do anything. You'll be like, you can get depression, the way you're saying. You'll be sick. What about the other kids?
Right. We need your support and strength.
I try very much. Though I remember when everyone was gone after the grieving time of now the tent is over, it's no tent now. People have disappeared. Those few weeks, it was not easy because everyone now is gone. Because now the days we are having, everybody is busy. So even when they were coming to you, they were just coming and few minutes, few days, just to see you and say sorry. Then at their heart now, when they say sorry, I had gone to Catherine, so at least I don't have that burden. So I could say sometimes when you just go, then you can be looking after those people. And if you feel you didn't go there at the time the grief was going on, those days, you can just go later.
Still make an effort.
You'll be you visit because you'll give strength to that family. Because in fact that is the most difficult time.
Very true. And Diana, let me bring you in there as we wrap up, because she raised something really important. The space of loneliness. After, the burial is done, people come with food, they stop coming with food, they stop visiting, they're literally gone. How should others offer support, even post that time? And like Catherine was saying, still come. Come see me. Even after the months and weeks have passed, come see me. So how should people respond and offer support?
It's usually a very awkward moment because people get stranded, like, what am I going to say when they are crying? What should I do? So people tend to be scared at that time, but what you can do is physically be there. You don't have to go and talk and say, be strong, and things will be okay. Just be there. If you can do the chores around the house, if you can help around with the other kids, if you can come with shopping and cook, just physically be there. That's the best you can do, because as much as you just want to, just want to talk, what can I do? But just check in on them, be there, ask them, are you comfortable having us around? And just get to ask them that, you can talk to us when you're ready. Don't be so pushy that, how are you coping? What's going on?
So your presence is what matters.
Presence is important.
Wenju, the last word goes to you in terms of where can people find you? Because it's such a necessary resource.
Okay. So allow me to just add one more point to that. There's actually a mom who told me, please talk to me about my kid. Like I feel like it's like now Christopher was 5 years old. It's not only his mom who was impacted or their direct family, there are people around who, and even them, they miss him, and she came and told me, I feel like people forgot about my baby. And she told me, I think people fear that if they raise, it will make me cry. But I would really be happy if somebody came and said, I also miss Christopher today. I was thinking about that day he did XYZ, and she smiles. And even if she cries, it will be tears of, I'm happy. Exactly. And I'm happy Christopher also was missed by somebody else other than me. So don't feel you're scared to raise those conversations. Now, regarding where we can be found, I'd say we have an office here in Nairobi on Ngong Road. There we do one-on-one counseling. So like if you'd like to see the counselor, just you guys, sometimes we'll have people come as a couple, sometimes they'll come alone, the men sometimes will even come alone because when they finally feel ready, they may not want their wife there. Whatever works for you guys, just talk to a professional. And then we also do support groups, and we're in the process actually of decentralizing our support groups instead of just meeting in our office. We are looking for partnerships where we can have various places in Nairobi. A support group is happening every day at around a certain time. So we and beyond that, we are on social media a lot. So we just like literally, if you just Google Still a Mom, you'll find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you can always talk to us. We also do WhatsApp support groups. So basically, there is a myriad of ways you can be assisted. Do not keep quiet. Do not grieve alone. And we always really appreciate also friends who bring friends along. Like it's such a powerful thing. A lot of guys who say, I was referred by my friend, or a friend of mine sent me here. But other than that, I'd like to say it's not only Still a Mom that can help you. There are many counselors in this city, in this country. I know of a money counseling center, and they have like there's a branch in Kisumu, and we have used them countless times when we don't have when there's a mother who's lost a baby in Kisumu or in Nyeri, and we don't have a resource there. So it doesn't have to be at Still a Mom only. Go wherever you're getting support. Use your friends as your support system, and then at some point, if you feel like you'd like professional help, by all means go and get some therapy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, ladies. To Catherine, Diana, and Wanjiru. We could be here like for another week. You can never exhaust this kind of topic, but I think the much that we've talked about should be help to someone who's going through this and that they can come out even better. Thank you so much for watching, and keep the discussions going on social media, #Citizen Weekend. Reach out to Still a Mom as well. They have great resources to get the help you need to get through this time and season. You'll be better for it. Thanks for watching.